How many people get to make such a difference in a disease, as devastating as cancer every single day? I'm Helmi Altuki, co-founder and CEO of Guardant Health. And what we do is we've developed a revolutionary blood test which allows us to see the underlying genomic information of a patient's tumor, but through a simple blood test without needing a biopsy that's done. And these biopsies are usually very invasive, they're risky, they're costly. In general, for lung cancer, patients, for instance, they cost over $14,000 and have a 19% complication rate. So now, for a cancer patient, instead of doing that biopsy, we can take 2 teaspoons of blood and get that same information.
In a nutshell, if you could, in a blood test, detect if you have cancer or not, I would think that's very impactful.
So what's so powerful about our technology is when we take a tube of blood, we're not looking at a single site, we're actually looking at the entirety of the disease within the individual. And because a blood sample is so easy to take, we can stay ahead of the disease rather than just being blindsided by the damage that it's caused in patients.
And part of the issue is that cancers are not static. A patient might have a tumor, but that tumor changes over time, especially when you treat it with medications. It can mutate. And so if you take a biopsy and you think it is X, it might be something other than X 3 months later.
So our technology is what we call digital sequencing. And we figured out how to translate some of those digital communication algorithms to DNA sequencing. And the big aha was, a DNA sequencer is just like a copper phone line or a communication channel. Instead of bits, you're putting ACGTs, you're putting 4 letters, the 4 building blocks of DNA, and you're getting them out, on the back end. And so we realized we could just take some of those same coding techniques, communication techniques, use them in the molecular biology space. The sequencer can add its noise, but we could recover everything perfectly at the back end and get 1,000 to 10,000x reduction in the error rate that's there. And that's what allows us to have that exquisite sensitivity to those single molecules of DNA that may be in a tube of blood of a cancer patient.
I think they understand that this is an area where if you invest heavily up front to drive down the costs of the tests and create the best accuracy in the market, then you'll be the gold standard for this type of detection.
This has been a vision of the field, a dream of the oncology field for decades. Yet, to date, there haven't been any technologies that have looked more than at just single sites in the genome. We're the first technology that essentially is able to look at entire genes and look at all the different types of genomic alterations that there are. And so that's really paved the way for us being able to do a liquid biopsy without compromise to a tissue biopsy.
They had an aggressive goal of doing 10,000 tests this year, and they will be well ahead of that mark. And they're leveraging that with additional fundraising to support, even more investment in their core technology.
So Lightspeed has been a really amazing partner for us because of the wealth of experience they've had in the Valley and with companies at every stage of life cycle, from seed stage all the way to initial public offering.
Lightspeed is a long-term oriented investor, and we like to do what's in the best interests of the entrepreneur and the company. And we're very competitive, so we like to do whatever it takes to help our companies and entrepreneurs win in the market.
And so you really want a partner who believes in the long-term vision, who is willing to stand beside you despite macro market environment, and that's what we found in Lightspeed.